Well, we're only 6 days into the new year, and I'm already making a rant video, so we're off to a great start now, aren't we? So every year around the new year, we are given a brand new box, and is the second most hyped moment of the entire year, excluding of course the new worlds, when they're not Rush Duel focused. Because these boxes are normally super anime focused, they're right around the anniversary time, and normally they're filled with some really powerful, strong art types and cards that just change and impact the metagame drastically. And this time around, well, in terms of just power level, it wasn't really that different. We did get a bunch of really powerful art types, and most of them are just anime themed and just really hyped and exciting. Things like Dragon Maids, your Tri-Brigades, your Crystal Beasts, finally some Invoke support after God knows how long. It's actually just a really banger box. But unfortunately, all of it is completely overshadowed by a brand new yellow button they introduced. I'm of course talking about the brand new hero skill. This skill, I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying this, I'm not taking this lightly or just clickbaiting or anything like that. This skill is one of the single most boring skills they've ever introduced into the game. Essentially, they saw the Predaplant skill and thought, adding 2 cards to hand, including a card that just instantly removes your opponent's disruption without them being able to respond whatsoever. Yeah, I'm going to copy that guy's homework and do it again for Hero. And this time around, I'm going to make it the single most glue-eatery deck possible. The sheer amount of complaints I've heard from Hero mains who are now playing this skill and going, they really just gave us another glue-eater super poly skill and expect us to have fun with this. It's like, they actually want to have fun. The difference between the Predaplant skill and this skill is at least Predaplant has some sort of brain activity when trying to play the deck. This one, you literally activate the skill, you grab your 2 cards, you place a giant boss monster on the field, you remove your opponent's stuff, and then you just click yes until your opponent dies. There is no enjoyment, no fun whatsoever. Your opponent doesn't get to play. You get to click yes a few times, but you basically don't get to play. It is just a terribly designed skill, and it just overshadowed everything from the new box. Absolutely everything. The meta to me feels like right now, you're either playing Predaplant, or you're losing to Hero. It's just, why even bother? I just think it sucks. There's all these brand new art types in the game, stuff like your Dragon Maid, stuff like your new Tri-Brigade, and all these old art types receiving support, things like your Invoked or your Crystal Beast, stuff that has either never been meta or hasn't been meta in God knows how many years, whenever Invoked was considered a meta deck. All this stuff has been introduced, all this really fun, insane, hyped stuff that people are really excited to play, and all of it got completely pooped on by a yellow button that we basically had last year. Like, we literally already had an Elemental Hero Search Super Poly skill last year. Like, why did they just reprint the skill, made it better, and made it shit on every single archetype that just got introduced? It's like, why, man? For those of you that have been lucky enough to have never encountered this deck, I don't know by what miracle you managed to avoid it considering just how popular it is on the ladder, this is the deck I'm talking about. And every single build looks almost identical. There's like no creative deck building to be done with it because, well, you just read what the skill does and slot in the cards based on that. It is the most boring form of deck building around. And they all look like this. You've got your Stratos, your Liquid Soldier, sometimes playing E. There's some builds that have been playing basically 1 or no E's. You've got your few boss monsters, got your whatever tech cards you're playing, Polymerization, and some Miracle Fusions. And that is basically the entire deck. And every single build looks roughly the same with some small differences. Like, this guy was playing less E, like I said. This guy was playing the Winged Karibo. I think very little people are using this, so some people are. This guy was playing basically the same build. He's playing some Sphere modes, which is very fun to play against. And then some people are playing the Neos Wise Man Ubel stuff, which is also quite popular, but not everyone's doing it. And that is the extent of creative deck building. Every other list looks exactly the same, which is, it's just so sad to see. You saw all the different variations stuff that came from like the Invoke stuff or the Tri-Brigade stuff. People trying all these cool different deck builds and cool things, and it's completely overlooked by just everyone playing the same hero build, which basically didn't even feature the new box. Yes, some people are playing E. This guy wasn't playing E, as you can see right here. This guy was actually just not using the new box whatsoever, and it's completely taken over the game. You'll see if you look at the top 50 most popular cards in game, it's all just the hero stuff. It's just hero everywhere, until eventually, I think, at 40 you hit a Dragon Maid card, but outside that, it's just all hero. It is... I don't know what to say. It is just so lame to see. And here's the skill itself, Dragonic Contact. What this skill does is you can use this skill's second effect once per turn if your deck contains Rainbow Dragon. Already there is a very, very big missing piece of text from that first line, which you've probably already picked up on. It's not once per duel. Anyway, we'll keep going. You cannot spell summon monsters except in Neos, Duel, Elemental Hero, and Neo Space Marine monsters. That line of text essentially means there's going to be no creative deck building whatsoever for this. Send one warrior monster or level 10 monster from your hand or face up field to the graveyard, then play one of the following monsters from your deck or graveyard in face down defense position. Its battle position can be changed. Add a super polymerization from your deck to your hand, and add a polymerization from outside of your deck to your hand. So keep in mind, not once per duel, so not only do you not need to run polymerization in your deck, you can just keep adding it with the skill every single turn if you want to. Whatever. Elemental Hero Neos, Ultimate Crystal Monster, Wind-Armed Dragon Monster. So obviously Wind-Armed Dragon Monster can include this guy, it can include the big guy, the guy that just discards a card, nukes the entire field. This guy can discard a card, destroy one card on the field, since be your turn 1 play along with all the billion tech cards it plays, along with searching Super Polymerization. So there's a decent turn 1, an insane turn 2, and of course, unlike the previous, this is one of my biggest complaints about it, unlike the previous Super Poly Neo skill, that allowed you to normal summon Neos, then you'd be able to activate the skill, search a Super Polymerization. This one doesn't do that. This one just places the Neos on the field, grabs the poly at the same time. So you actually get 0 chance to react to the Super Polymerization, which of course can't be responded to. So you literally get no chance to respond to it. It's going to remove your field, you don't get a chance to respond to it. That's if they're not just going to go for an armed dragon or armed whatever play first, summon a big boss, try and nuke the field, you have to respond to it, then they go for a super polymerization play but just normal summoning a hero, and all of a sudden, half your field's gone, you've used all your major disruptions, and then they just spam the field with a billion different hero monsters because that's just what this deck does. For those of you looking for an example of what it's like to play against this deck, here's a little Twitter example. You see, this hero player over here has used 3 different hand traps, and his hand is left with just a singular card. He draws for turn, activates an E, and all of a sudden, that's the field. 2 extra cards in hand, by the way. So he started the turn with 2 cards, ended with 2 cards, and got to hand trap his opponent with 3 different techs. And that is every single game against this deck. They don't need anything really in their hand because the skill just adds it to them for them. They slam a card on the field, again, thanks to the skill. And all of a sudden, yeah, you have to stare down this kind of an end field. It is atrocious what this skill does. Honestly, I think it would be more okay if they just released the skill alongside the structure deck, rather than alongside the box. At least then I'll have like a couple of weeks to play around with the new cards before the introduction of Rainbow Neos and the Armed Neos come into the game. At least then I would have had some time to play with the new support before it gets absolutely decimated by some yellow button thing. It's just so disappointing to see. I don't know what power level this deck's going to be when those other 2 new fusions come, but at the moment, it just feels unbearable. The ladder by itself, regardless of how tournament meta turns out or what turns out to be the best deck in tournaments, the ladder meta is going to be completely destroyed for God knows how long. Literally everyone's going to be playing this deck. It is... No one even needs to buy the new box or buy new cards. They just take the cards they already have, slap the yellow button on it, and there's your deck. What's the point of adding new support? Anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. Sorry it's a bit of a rant, and if people are wondering where my videos are for the latest art types, I've tried making them, and I just cannot be bothered. I've tried playing them, and they just feel like shit when every second game I'm playing this deck, getting demolished, and having absolutely no fun. So, I'll see you again when the new structure deck releases. I'll probably make a video on that just because, well, I feel like I'm sort of necessary to do so as a YouTuber, so I probably will. But that's going to be the extent of my content from this box. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you see you in the next one. Laters.